Hello, everyone. This is Sasha with the LTRC. Thank you for joining us for today's presentation on the topic of women in technology as part of the Wednesday Rainmaking webinar series by the Women Rainmakers Committee at the American Bar Association. The presentation today will be followed by a Q&A session. Please enter your questions into the questions pop-up found by clicking the Q&A button on the bottom toolbar of the Zoom screen. All questions will be addressed at the end of the presentation. Our moderator today is Jeanne Lee. Jeanne is a committee member of the Women Rainmakers Committee. She is an attorney, leadership, and business development coach who speaks nationally on strategic networking for introverts, negotiation skills for women, communication skills in the workplace, and world-class speaking secrets. She is a contributing chapter author to the Amazon #1 bestseller, World-Class Speaking in Action, and to Market Success, How Did She Do That?, published by the ABA. Thank you all for joining us. We'll now begin the webinar.
Thank you everyone for joining us. And as you know, we had originally scheduled this webinar in March, right about the shutdown time. So I hope all of you have been well. And just thank you for hanging in there with us and coming to the rescheduled webinar, which is today. We just needed some time to reset how we had our lives and reset our ideas of how we wanted to prepare for today. So if I can have the next slide. The mission of the ABA Rainmakers is to educate professional women about marketing and business development, to provide networking, provide mentoring opportunities for members, and to provide networking opportunities to build personal and professional relationships. That is actually how I've met Jeannine and Courtney. You can find up-to-date information of what we're doing. And right now we have September 16th scheduled as a networking event, and we're looking forward to December 9th. We have not yet determined what we're going to do on that day, but if you have ideas, we're open to topics. So let me introduce you to Jeannine Abukhater, Lambert. She is the Executive Director of Centers and Programmings at Northern Kentucky University Chase College, Chase College of Law. She administers the Bruce Lansford Academy for Law, Business, and Technology, a law school honors program. She serves as general counsel for her family companies, Kentuckiana Alarms and Be Secure Now. She is active with her local bar in the ABA's Law Practice Division, serving as co-chair of the ABA Women Rainmakers Women of Legal Tech Summit Subcommittee and Local Programming Subcommittee. Courtney Ward-Reichard is a founding member of Nyland Johnson & Lewis in Minneapolis, Minnesota. She has over 25 years of experience leading discovery efforts in complex products liabilities and employment litigation, and in using technology to enhance litigation efficiency and results for her corporate clients. She is an active member of the ABA Law Practice Division, serving as the co-chair of the 2020 Women of Legal Tech Summit, Law Practice Magazine features editor. She is our social chair of Women Rainmakers and the chair of the Legal Project Management Interest Group. She is the former president of the Hennepin County Bar Association and National Conference of Bar Foundation. So Jeannine and Courtney have done so much to make this program work today. We were originally, again, scheduled in March, and at the last minute, we decided that who would be really wanting to listen to this in the week where all attorneys were gathering all their files and going home. So I have included our contact information here, and I believe it's also shown at the end of our slideshow. So without further ado, let's talk. What is the Women of Legal Tech list? Courtney, you're on mute. Okay, there we go. Jeannine. Okay, sorry, Jeannine, you were on mute. Okay.
No, I was on mute and someone else is trying to unmute me. Hello, everybody. I'm very, very sorry about that. We'll get that straight from now on. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. Jeannie and Jeannine, thank you so much for your work helping us get to today. I hope everyone has been well. It's obviously been a very, very difficult time. So let's start talking about Women of Legal Tech and what Women of Legal Tech is. In 2015, Heidi Alexander felt frustrated by people who said it's impossible to have more women on speaking panels. There just aren't women that are versed in legal tech. So she wrote a blog post for Law Technology Today entitled Women You Need to Know in Law and Technology. And she profiled a number of amazing women in legal tech. There were 39 women on that first list, including many well-known names. And her goal from the beginning was just to say, don't tell me there aren't enough women to put on speaking panels about legal technology. Look at all of these amazing women and what they've accomplished in the field. In 2017, the ABA Legal Technology Resource Center Board picked up the project. And every year since then, more women have been added to the list. The LTRC board now takes nominations every year. In 2020, they received over 200 nominations before they selected the 20 new members of the 2020 class. There were a lot of 20s and 200s in that. Despite these efforts, women still are woefully unrepresented in the legal tech field, holding less than 15% of positions. As startup founders, investors, or tech employees, men often outnumber women many times over. If women play a diminished role within the tech field, then female lawyers interested in representing tech companies as in-house or outside counsel, or in creating tech or legal tech companies, sometimes face a higher bar to success.
So how was the summit structured?
So the summit is started in 2018, and it's a full day conference that happens the day before ABA Tech Show, which happens in Chicago every year. And ideas, there are all these brilliant women in legal tech that, like Courtney said, people weren't necessarily aware of until Heidi Alexander started making that list. And so we collaborated with the ABA's Legal Technology Resource Center to use a chance to, for instance, at the same time, get together ideas. I hope I see my video is cutting in and out. I don't know what I can do about that. So I will try to work on that a little bit here. I'll just try to speak slowly. So if it cuts out, it was a chance for us to have a full day kind of collective of women who have really broken through a lot of barriers and have started their own companies, who represent tech companies, who run their law firms, who have created a new way of practicing law, a chance for them to give their ideas and share their ideas with all of us so that we can learn and improve upon everything. So we also in that day take Catlin Moon of Vanderbilt University, who is design thinking and innovator extraordinaire. She's fantastic. So she leads a workshop, a design thinking workshop, where we take all of the information from the morning, and rather than having knowledge dump, which happens after conferences often, where you go back home to your normal life and the minutia of your daily work, and you forget everything that was amazing that you learned at the conference, and put it into a workshop where we create actionable steps towards how we can change our community, how we can change society, so we can improve the numbers of women in legal tech. So that's what the summit itself is. We also this year did a little bit something different. We had a playbook created by Erin Gershenzang, who's an Atlanta criminal defense attorney and a member of the ABA Tech Show board, and Kim Bennett, who is a fellow attorney in Atlanta. They organize a lot of women in the profession, women in the law type programs for their home state bar association. So they created a draft playbook of everything that they have learned about creating these programs, everything from marketing, building surveys, finding speakers, contacting your bar association, and put that on in a Google Share Doc. And at the summit, the attendees were able to take that Google Share Doc, add to it their own ideas, things we learned that day, and build their own Women in the Law programming playbook to use for afterwards. So we'll have a link for you all to share that afterwards. The Women in Legal Tech Summit itself is presented by ABA Women Rainmakers and is collaboration with ABA Legal Technology Resource Center, LTRC. You'll hear us refer to them throughout the day. They are the ones who created the Women in Legal Tech list that we honor throughout the summit itself. Women Rainmakers has been running the program. It's always been sponsored by the W. Bruce Lunsford Academy for Law, Business, and Technology at NKU Chase College of Law, which is where I work. And so I've been planning the summit since 2018 in the beginning in that role. and then also by CALI, Center for Computer Assisted Legal Instruction, and Chicago Kent College of Law. They've always been the venue and our collaborators in that as well. This year's planning committee included myself and Courtney as co-chairs, and then Vita Jones-Richardson, who is co-chair of ABA Women Rainmakers, Brooke Moore and Erin Gershenzang, who represent the ABA Tech Show Board, and Allison Shields from ABA LTRC, and then Laura O'Brien, who has been a former honoree on the Legal Tech list and a speaker at the summit as well.
So the summit itself is the day before Tech Show in Chicago. I'm hoping that many of you were able to join us that day, and if not, really excited to be able to bring this to you as sort of a summary of what you might expect if you're able to join us in the future. It was really the ideas of full day of women leaders in technology, learning and talking about how to close the gender gap in technology. So we began the day with welcomes by law school deans and leadership of the committee. Then we moved on to a terrific plenary session by Judy Perry Martinez, who is the current president of the ABA. After that, we had 13 Ignite sessions, which are fun, fast-paced, 7-minute presentations, automatically advancing slides. A very hard thing to deliver if any of you have ever had the opportunity to do that, but such a great way to share a lot of information and a lot of thought leadership in a very short period of time. The speakers for the Ignite sessions included past and present honorees from the Women of Legal Tech list. The morning ended with a very inspiring recognition ceremony for the 2020 honorees of the Women of Legal Tech. And in addition to the 20 honorees that were selected this year by LTRC and announced in advance, there was a nice surprise for Heidi Alexander, who was the person who created the list in the first place and had never herself been inducted as one of the Women of Legal Tech. Certainly someone that everybody could recognize, played such a role in legal technology. She was co-chair of ABA Tech Show in 2020 and has done so much wonderful work in the field. So it was very exciting to see her get recognized as one of the Women of Legal Tech. Heidi was until March 2020. At the time of the summit, she was Deputy Director of Lawyers Concerned for Lawyers in Massachusetts, but she is now currently the Director of the Massachusetts Standing Committee on Lawyer Wellbeing, and really a leader in terms of, again, not only trying to bring more women into speaking positions and leadership positions in legal technology, but herself being a fantastic innovator.
So we will now go and list the rest of the 2020 Women of Legal Tech honorees list. I've taken my video off, hoping that that will help my audio come through better. So first I have Lynn Alfredson, founder and project manager at Tech Academy Nordic. Then Charity Anastasio, practice management advisor for the American Immigration Lawyers Association's Practice and Professionalism Center.
Bernadette Bulacan, who is currently the lead evangelist at iCertis, a leader in enterprise contact management. She was also a founding member and assistant general counsel at Serengeti Law, creator of the Serengeti Tracker. Veronica Canton, who's partner and co-founder of Empower Us, connecting juvenile immigrants with pro bono immigration attorneys.
Lisa Colpoys, program director at the Institute for the Future of Law Practice. Stephanie Everett, president of Lawyerist.com.
Lori Gonzalez, who is CEO of the Reyna Corporation, a company designed to increase work-life balance and improve efficiency, focusing on testing, using, and improving legal tech. Christy Guimond, who is co-founder of She Breaks the Law, a global women's network made up of more than 1,800 women lawyers seeking to alter how legal services are delivered. I will note that Christy is based in London and I think undoubtedly traveled the furthest to attend our event. It was really a pleasure to meet her in person.
Sirisha Gumaregula is COO of QuickSlex and has been advising boards of directors, corporate legal departments, and law firms on a variety of strategic matters for more than 20 years. Margaret Hagan is the director of the Legal Design Lab at Stanford University, as well as a lecturer in the Institute of Design. She's a lawyer and holds a JD from Stanford Law School a DPhil from Queen's University of Belfast, an MA from Central European University, and an AB from the University of Chicago.
Hannah Konchacek is the head of business operations and strategy at Legal.io, a legal talent network. Mary Mack is the CEO and chief legal technologist at EDRM, leading that organization's significant role in e-discovery.
The Honorable Bridget McCormack is Chief Justice of the Michigan Supreme Court and became Chief Justice in January of 2019. Before this, she was a law professor and dean at the University of Michigan Law School. Dorna Moini is founder and CEO of Documate, a no-code software platform for turning templates and forms into intelligent workflows.
Kathleen Orr is the Senior Innovation Counsel at Orrick, Harrington, and Sutcliffe, working with clients and practice groups in the firm to improve the delivery of legal services. Donna Payne is the CEO of Payne Group, a company she founded over 25 years ago to provide technology consulting to companies around the world.
Farrah Pepper is Chief Legal Innovation Counsel at Marsh & McLennan Companies, where she makes things click. She created leads the company's legal innovation and technology team, including the Legal Innovation Technology Innovation Lab and the Legal Data Discovery Program. Jane Reardon is Executive Director at the Illinois Supreme Court's Commission on Professionalism. She's a former trial lawyer and counsel, the ARDC Review Board, and promotes the Commission's mission to improve professionalism, civility, and inclusion in the legal and judicial systems.
Carla Reyes is Director of Michigan State University's Center of Law and Innovation and Legal R&D Lab. At least I think she still is. She noted in her bio that she was moving to Southern Methodist University this summer, a difficult time for transition. So if she is not already there, I expect she will soon be transitioning to a new role at SMU. And then Sarah Schaff, who is the CEO of HeadNote, with the goal of changing the way law firms deal with accounts receivable. We wanted to go through each of these individual names, as we were preparing the presentation today. I think Jeannine and I thought, well, we could just kind of rattle off the names, but really wanted you to see the wonderful work that went into preparing a booklet that we distributed that day about each of these wonderful women, and to perhaps spark you to go learn more about them.
So the day was structured with the morning. We had presentations from a lot of people who are women of legal tech honorees and some who are not. And so they presented their ideas for the day. And then we had a networking lunch with everyone. And then we had a keynote after lunch. Michelle Browning-Coughlin is an IP attorney at Wyatt, Tarrant & Combs in Louisville, Kentucky. And she's also the founder of Mothers Esquire, which you may be familiar with. It's an online group promoting policy changes for parents who are attorneys. We'll talk more about Michelle's topic at the summit. We'll get more in depth with that later in the program. But the online group that she founded, Mothers Esquire, has recently won some key victories. They were able to have several states make a policy change that makes granting motions for continuance for parental leave mandatory rather than discretionary. So attorneys who are seeking continuances for parental leave can be guaranteed that those will be granted. We then also had Kat Moon and Aaron Gershenzang lead the afternoon session of design thinking workshop, and then they also worked on the playbook that Aaron and Kim Bennett put together. And so they created these shareable materials that you can be used by everyone, with the goal that people can leave the conference, go back to their home states, or if they are still in Chicago, and put on their own Women in the Profession programming, and we can kind of create a bigger ripple effect from what we have done before.
So it looks like there are a lot of tools that, Courtney, were you going to speak?
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. The change is coming. So that sounds great. What are some other highlights of the program?
So, there was so much information that day, and as Jeannine and I were working on this presentation today, really tried to distill some of those ideas together. So some of our speakers talked about similar themes, and so we've tried to pull those together in this next series of slides. So the first of those was this idea that change is coming. That things are changing. Now, I think when we were all there in March, we didn't quite realize how quickly things would really be changing. But the point there was that women in technology, women in the legal profession, there's a lot of change coming in how we deliver legal services. And again, I think the last 3 months have taught us so much. I can't wait to hear from some of these legal innovators next year talk about all of the things that have now changed in the way we practice law and deliver legal services. So Laura O'Brien was a great speaker on this topic. She is co-founder and owner of My Virtual Lawyer, along with Brooke Moore. Laura and Brooke are acknowledged leaders in the world of the virtual practice of law. And of course, again, that's something that many, many lawyers have learned about in a very short period of time. But Laura and Brooke were really out in front, delivering legal services to clients virtually and remotely, and they've been doing that for some time. She says that legal tech is essentially a lifestyle hack. Wellness is important, and she stresses, and the stresses rather of traditional practice, including pressures to be rainmaking, lead many women to leave the profession, and attrition numbers are at a record high. So the response for some women, rather than to leave the profession entirely, is to become entrepreneurs and practice law in their own way. For Laura, being able to work from home and use technology made a huge difference in her personal life, including helping her deal with a personal health challenge. Legal technology, she says, can make your life better, streamlining processes and reducing time spent on tasks that you don't like. Client portals and virtual law firms are how she took her practice forward, and her mantra is embrace change, don't wait to become irrelevant, quit the old model and design your own. And again, she and Brooke were certainly out ahead of what now many, many people are having to experience as a result of COVID-19.
That's certainly true. Since February, I think the summit was in February. No one would have imagined 1 month or 2 months later, we would have to implement all the tools that we have been implementing. And I think a lot of people didn't even know about Zoom, and here it's one of the more traditional platforms at this time. So what was another theme?
So Emmy Clint was another speaker, and she's the Chief Operating Officer of Second Law. She focused on encouraging attendees to break free of traditional structures, to release yourself from time constraints. And, like it or not, women often are caregivers, and staying in the practice of law is most possible when you really become an early adopter of technology and can really use technology to make everything you do better. So she advised, don't be a late adopter, use tech to set a different tone, break free of the old systems, automate, organize, streamline. It's what there are a lot of messages about organization and the importance of organization, but it really cannot be underestimated how much time you can save when you figure out how to automate and streamline processes using technology. So there are really ways you can use it to balance your responsibilities and stay competitive using more tech.
Organize, streamline. That's great. So did the speakers address something that was just mentioned earlier, how the attrition rate of women leaving the law profession, because oftentimes they have a lot of additional responsibilities aside from billable hours. So did they address the issue of retention of women in the legal profession?
They did, and that was really a big theme of the day, is that, not to step around the fact that women really do have a lot of other responsibilities, often main primary caregiving. They have to balance in their work and their life, personal life as well. There are some workplace culture issues that make it a less friendly space for women to coexist. So the big theme of the day was things like Emmy had said, where you really have to use technology in order to move forward. Another example and speaker who addressed this was Darlene Tonelli, the founder of Inter Alia Law. So she said something interesting, that instead of demanding a seat at the table, she suggests that you'd actually build a new table that fits your life and your needs. Like, choose how you want to live and work. So work backwards. It's almost more of a client or design thinking type focus, rather than thinking, well, this is how law is practiced. What should I do to contort myself to fit into that mold? Instead, think about, what do I need in my life in order to function and have, a flourish and have a, and have a great life and family if you want to do that. So she suggested that, build yourself a new table. So why the table doesn't have to be square and only fit a certain number of people. Can it be circular, inverted? Can it be a spaceship? So you're only limited by your beliefs. And Darlene really recommended reimagining a table entirely for your needs rather than forcing yourself to fit some preset table.
So sometimes it's our own limiting beliefs that prohibit us from expanding and exploring other options. If anyone is on the call and have kind of constructed their own table, let us know through the chat box. So what was another theme?
Well, I think another, really great overall theme and something so important, and what I really took away from the day probably more than anything is just the continued importance of the idea that women need to support each other. We saw women of all generations at our conference, from those just entering the practice to those who had been there for many, many years. And two speakers in particular really illustrated this idea of we need to work together to help women that are new to the profession, increase the number of women that are involved in technology issues. ABA President Judy Perry Martinez illustrated this really well in her plenary remarks with the concept of no ladders up. When women get to a position of power, they should never pull the ladder up behind them. They should instead seek to support other women in getting to that same place. It was a really very resonant theme, and of course, it's always so inspiring to see women as president of the ABA, and especially a woman like Judy Perry Martinez, who has been a great supporter of women Rainmakers and the law practice division.
So Emmy Clint also had a similar theme. So she actually had one of the funnier and I guess stickier moments of the day. And it resonated with the conference itself, the whole day, her theme, and was carried on throughout the entire day and referred back to. That's when you know it's successful, is when everyone repeats it after you. So she talks about otters, surprisingly enough. So female otters, you can see in the top left pictures, swim together in the ocean, and they hold hands and they support each other the whole time. Well, a group of female otters is called a raft, and the correct term for a female otter is a bitch. So the concept is to use your raft of bitches to succeed. It's kind of shocking language for some, and I apologize if it has offended anyone, but really the idea is that we need to be out there together, supporting each other. And in this, we can all really succeed. There's no need to pull a ladder up or to, stop holding hands on your raft.
It was one of the greatest concepts of the day. We did hear it. I'm guessing from at least 6 or 7 speakers referenced it. And again, like Jeannine said, it's a little bit of a shocking language, but it absolutely illustrates exactly the theme here, is that we want to all work together. Another concept that was similar was creating a tribe. This came from Nikki Black of My Case. She noted it can be lonely being a woman in legal tech, and Nikki is, of course, someone who's been in the industry for many, many years, extremely well-known and respected. And she said we need to focus on helping one another be heard. So that's creating your own tribe, a network of supporters and uplifters, and then looking at that tribe to amplify your message. Again, if you're interested in the field of legal technology and aren't following Nikki Black on social media, you certainly should be. And the idea there is to take ideas that might be from people who have less of a following or less well known, and amplify those across the world of social media and elsewhere to try to help more women become involved in legal technology. So using the tribe and then spreading the word, praising one another is her key to try to have women supporting one another in the field.
I know it's hard a little bit to keep up with everything because we had so many great speakers that day. So I want to let everyone know that you will get an email following this presentation sometime within, I think, 24 hours that will give you a link to more information about the speakers, about the honorees, so that you don't have to try and remember everyone's name or what company everyone represented, or if we misspoke about what their current position is versus what it was in February when we had this program. So you'll have links to everything and can learn more about the different companies and speakers and honorees that we featured at the summit. So another speaker was Helen Goldman Buchamels, who works with me at NKU Chase College of Law and also runs her own company as well and has been doing online marketing for years. She focused on how women should not only lift one another up, but should also protect each other. So she had a theme in her talk, which was, if you see something, say something. So sometimes women don't speak up for one another because they don't know what to say necessarily, the typical bystander syndrome. Well, rather than being bystanders, women should be very active about speaking up, being an ally for another woman, for other women, praising them publicly. Sometimes women have gotten a bad reputation for not playing as well with others, not supporting women publicly as well, or being more denigrating about other women colleagues. But they really need to be careful to use their voice as loudly and as often as possible so that women's names can rise to the forefront more often. So she says, don't just say something. If you see something, do something.
I really like that, to say something. I like the idea of the tribe. So I would encourage everyone, and you can do it through the chat box, if you can take that as a challenge today to think of some people that you can bring into your tribe and start changing or developing or enlarging that which you currently have right now. What are some other tips that were given?
So one of the things that I think was really a great theme throughout the day, and again, what, you come away from a conference like this feeling very empowered, is the idea of perseverance and passion as being traits of great leaders, something that folks who have made it in the world of technology in any field really have shown. Mary Vandenack is an honoree who embodies the philosophy of Sheryl Sandberg. She says, I want every little girl who's told she's bossy to be told instead that she has leadership skills. Mary's advice was to seek out, take on leadership position, make your presence known, make sure that people give you that seat at the table, whether it's a table you're creating yourself or one that's already there.
So what would be the flip side to that?
But that was another part of Mary's presentation, which I personally took a lot away from because I tend to take on too much myself. Mary's advice is don't overfill your plates. Make good choices about what you do put on your plate so that you can accomplish those tasks without impeding on your need for personal life, and also so you can really excel at the things that you're good at and the things that you like to do. She says many women try to find a way to make their plate bigger. I've got too many tasks. I've got to get rid of some of the obligations that I have so I can take on more and more and more. And instead, she says, figure out how to fill your plate with what you're good at and what you like to do. Everything else should be outsourced. Mary runs her own firm in Omaha, Nebraska, and I work with her quite frequently. She is the editor of Law Practice Magazine, and I'm in the role of features editor. And I know that Mary is a great delegator. I mean, she's somebody who, if she doesn't want to do something or deal with something, she's got people in her firm that manage those tasks for her. And I think that's really great advice to women as they try to make their way, is to not just take on every opportunity that comes along.
I took a lot from Mary's advice too on the watch what you put on your plate. And I think about it frequently. I actually had like a health scare last fall, and I had to learn how to really be careful what was on my plate. And so I started outsourcing things that I didn't do as well at or didn't enjoy, things that were just hanging it up. And that way I could focus more energy and doing everything better. So, and I think it really goes back to even Darlene's talk about how you, rather than forcing yourself to fit the table, you reimagine what it should be based on what you want your life to look like. So I think about those kinds of things frequently when all kinds of pressures come up for what I should be doing and what I'd like to do. So someone who knows a lot about filling your plate and a lot of pressure is Peggy Turner, who's co-founder of my firm Data. She told a really great cautionary tale with the theme to persevere. So to develop my firm Data, she, her husband, and a good friend spent 3 years working nights and weekends to build the software. And they were named as finalists for a significant Clio grant. So they really got to, a significant far reach with that. They realized at some point that their product was only going to work for small firms. So they ultimately lost the Clio contest to Tally, which I think, many have heard of. And they were faced with, along this road, they were faced with decisions, do you quit or move forward? And that happens in 3 years. You know, they have a family trying to work every minute on a second project where they both have full-time jobs. But, you know, and then finding out that they had lost a Clio contest, what should they do? So they pressed forward, and they hired a new coding team who showed them that their old coding team had actually used a bunch of coding shortcuts and they were going to have to rewrite the whole code, which is another gut shot. But they persevered, and they're now building a great product that will be able to use for multiple size firms everywhere. And so Peggy really said it best. She said the way to win is to solve the problem right in front of you and move on. So she was a big proponent of don't quit, persevere, solve what's in front of you, and move on.
Yeah, that was a really great story. It was so wonderful to see her, honestly being so honest about a failure and what she learned from that, and how she's built her company since then was very, very inspiring. That was definitely one of the things that really stuck with me as well. Christy Guimond talked about passion and also told a great story of perseverance. Christy shared with us that after maternity leave, she was let go from her job and was considered redundant in her position. She took control of her career and found her passion. She says to use passion to innovate and persevere, never stop exploring and thinking without parameters. So she co-founded She Breaks the Law last year, breaking down silos and providing a support network for over 1,800 women. And I think there was actually a question that came through about how to get more involved with She Breaks the Law. I'm not directly familiar with how to do that other than to become a member of their LinkedIn group. Jeannine, I don't know if you have any more information about Christy's group and how to become involved with that.
I don't, but I'd be happy to email Christy and put her in touch with the person who asked the question, because I saw that as well. So I think really everyone should want to be involved in a number of these organizations, because their message is promoting and making everything better for all of us. So I mean, they really are building their own raft.
Did you say that there was a LinkedIn page for that group?
I believe so, yeah.
And did you say what it was?
I did not, because I don't know.
Okay. I thought if you said it was really fast and maybe we should repeat it.
Oh, no. Just, I think if you Google She Breaks the Law, you would likely find the links to the LinkedIn page as well as their website to find out more information.
Okay, so it seems like a lot of the ideas that were coming out, these women were really thinking out of the box and thinking about things differently so that they can continue to succeed. And the one sharing where she did have some failures and she learned from her failures. So you have to innovate and you have to educate yourself, and failure is just part of the game. Let's see here. So it's part of the game, and so these traditional methods that have worked in the past may not necessarily work in the future.
Yes, absolutely. And one of our speakers is Stephanie Solera, who's senior counsel at Numerator, a tech company. And she actually was a speaker at our 2018 conference, the first time we had this. So it was really interesting. I remember what she said even then when she represented a different tech company. But she really urged women who want to represent tech companies to really be client focused. You know, what does the client need me to be or do, not what do lawyers normally do. So to stop thinking in traditional checkbox, boilerplate, legalese, traditional types of law, and instead think about what your client wants you to do. And tech companies are known for being innovative and breaking the mold, and they've created a whole different workplace culture. So lawyers have to adapt to that as well. And someone told a really funny story. I can't remember if it was at the summit or somewhere else about it was at ABA Tech Show, but it was the keynote who spoke later at Tech Show about at Google, they were building and reimagining an entire new space for everyone, for the company at their headquarters. And when they went to the legal department to reimagine their space and what they would need, and they're building this beautiful, the world is your oyster. What could you possibly want? We're Google. We have all this money. And the legal office wanted a law library. Well, they're not using the books. They were kind of stuck in that traditional mindset of needing a law library and to sit down at the desk and do this. So not to say the law library is not a problem. I can see how it's, comforting for some, not for me, but for some it may have been comforting. But the idea is that really you have to think outside of the traditional law and go back and think about what your client wants. So, and like tech companies, they want to hire experts. Stephanie was talking about how she's in a room and everyone in the room was, the world's most famous of this. So it was intimidating, but she had to be the legal expert. She had to be the one who could say yes or could say no. She had to then rely on her network, rely on her vendors to help her. She said, you can't be afraid to be the Department of No, even in tech, even where they want to push the boundaries and do everything out there and rethink everything. You can still say no when something, is you feel would be a legal risk. And that can be hard on those with a more adventurous mindset, but you can use, that's kind of an example of using your network. You can use insurance companies to say, well, the insurance won't allow me to do that. Therefore, the answer is no. So you can get creative, but essentially do not stick in the same mold of traditional law, and think about what your client needs you to be and who they need you to be and what they need you to do, rather than what you have always done in the past.
So what's the solution to helping women become subject matter experts?
So education is part of it. Some of the work that Jeannine and her colleagues do in law schools around the country. Hari Osofsky, who's the Dean of Penn State Law and the School of International Affairs, talked about how important it is to teach legal technology to law students and to address the needs of new markets and businesses through that learning. She also emphasized the importance of legal technology with respect to access to justice issues. She noted that law schools shouldn't be separate from their university, and that science, engineering, computer science, and security are all areas where partnerships can make significant inroads in education.
So, and that really is something we do, like Courtney said, at my college, in KU Chase College of Law. So the Lunsford Academy for Law, Business, and Technology, it was founded by an alumnus who has been in business for decades and just really felt as if the traditional law was not satisfying the needs of the market anymore, and that there's too much technology and business acumen that's needed for a lawyer to really succeed. So the program was founded to teach law students business and technology, so they are much more well-rounded, have more of a 360 approach, and can address their business clients' needs as well as their clients' needs that involve technology. They don't have to be tech experts. Many don't have computer science or IT backgrounds, but they still are able to they're able to kind of understand some of the problems and know where to go to find solutions. So another speaker who has worked at a university is Michelle Zachrin. She's an associate professor of legal process at Touro College, Jacob D. Fuchsberg Law Center. And she really advised that universities and law schools should invest in their female law professors and their female professors. They can ask them to be involved in tech-related projects, ask them to teach tech courses, invest in summer research stipends and grants, anything to kind of promote bringing more women into the teaching role, so that then more women can see themselves going into this field. It's proven fact that when you feel more comfortable doing what you see others do before you, so you are more comfortable when the person in front of you reflects your looks. So if you have more female law professors and professors teaching technology and legal technology, then they will help grow another generation of women involved in legal tech.
Okay, other solutions?
So speakers also emphasized the need to abandon old models. Women need to create a new way of thinking. Jane Reardon, who is the executive director of the Illinois Supreme Court Commission on Professionalism, emphasized the need for changes in lawyer regulation, getting rid of rules prohibiting other professionals from serving clients, and limitations in advertising still create problems, especially again in this space of technology and innovation and trying to come up with new ways to deliver legal services. These regulatory agencies need to understand that a new market has developed and adjust accordingly, so go where no man or woman has gone before.
So Tammy Cienbad, she really said something that stuck with me that I remembered from the conference and will stay with me, I think, forever. And she addressed that issue of, not being able to relate depending on who is in front of you in that position of power. So she has that that controversial Twitter quote, which is really great: "The Lord give me the confidence of a mediocre white male." So she was a young law clerk and had gone to court one day with the other attorneys, and she sat in the back where the guests will sit, visitors will sit, and a colleague, a young white male fellow law clerk, came in and went right up to counsel table and was shaking hands and chatting and sitting up there. And why did he go up to counsel table and she was in the visitors area? She didn't see anyone up at counsel table who looked like her. So she did not think that she could have access to counsel table right now as a clerk. Whereas her friend and colleague, saw everyone up there looked just like him. He was able to go right up, and he just assumed his role, his leadership role, and assumed that he had a place at the head table. Whereas she did not believe that there was a space for her just yet. She thought she had to wait for permission. So that was a very important concept for the day, is that you really have to be full of confidence and make your own place at the table, whichever size table you create.
Maybe it's you have to give permission to yourself. What can you tell us about the keynote speaker and Mothers Esquire?
Sure. So Michelle Coughlin is the founder of Mothers Esquire, and she was our keynote speaker. She talked about how women can be affected by what they learned as girls. She had these wonderful photos from some of the women of legal tech that they had submitted to her of their childhood photos. It was really great to see how some of these great women started in life, but it was also a really important point that we were all raised with biased thinking about our role, what we could do, what we could accomplished. Many were raised in more supportive environments than others. It's all different, but ultimately we all bring biases to the table about our roles. I've been really interested as we have been navigating through this world of COVID-19. Over the last couple of days, I've seen two reports, one saying men taking on more parenting tasks than ever, and the other saying women are doing the bulk of the parenting while everybody is stuck at home and trying to work from home. And I thought about like those two headlines, and then I realized, they could both be true, that women are still doing all the work, but men are doing way more than they ever did before. And so her point was that we need to try to overcome that in our personal lives and our relationships with our partners, trying to make a way for us to continue to be vibrant in our careers, with our family, and trying to, essentially support one another in building careers and way of working that makes that possible. She focused on planting seeds of change in the legal profession, choosing your seeds carefully, finding fertile soil, planning, and being patient. Her point was that women need to be aware of what needs to be overcome and make personal plans for thinking creatively about work-life balance and how they are going to manage their careers.
So often at conferences, you do get a lot of knowledge, and then you go home, and then you have some difficulty either remembering what you learned or implementation. So how was this summit different?
This summit really is kind of a passion project because we are very passionate about not having that knowledge dump. It's really important to us that you don't come and just sit and listen and think that was great, that you build on that. And at each summit, the energy, everyone will tell you who attends, the energy from the day is amazing. The collaborations that come out of that, the friendships that develop, the new work projects that come out of it are really just fantastic. Everyone feels a strong energy, a strong connection. And so what we do at the summit that's so different is that we build on that very day. So rather than stop after the presentations, we have an interactive session all afternoon where you think through the morning themes, where you think about how can you have the greatest impact with the least resources, realizing that, our time and effort and energy are one of those scarce resources. We can't commit oodles of time to everything. We have to be careful with that. So then also at the same time, this past year, we did something different where we created that draft playbook that Aaron and Gershenzang and Kim Bennett put together. So participants were able to take a look at the playbook of everything that Aaron and Kim have learned over the years and add their own thoughts to it, take that back. We have connections to the bar associations through Michelle Brown and Coughlin that she offered us. And so we were able to then, if anyone wanted to go back to their home state and create their own program, we could give them connections. So we really just were hoping that we had thrown a pebble into Lake Michigan and that would have ripple effects across the country. And so you would be able to walk away with this with something tangible and something you could change in the community rather than just, you know, a lot of talking and energy that then didn't translate into actionable steps.
So Women Rainmakers has an initiative and is currently working on developing local programming across the country in collaboration with the participants of Women with Legal Tech. We will happily share the Google Doc. It is a draft. It is a work in progress. We're looking for input from lawyers who are innovating, breaking the model, and developing programming to encourage more conversations across the country.
That's great. Do you know when the Legal Tech Summit's going to be next year? Do you guys have preliminary date?
It's March 10th. So it's March 10th, 2021. And we are hoping that, well, I'll say, because virtual does give you certain things that in-person does not. So we do not yet know if it will be fully in-person, if it will be fully virtual, or if it will be a hybrid of that. So ABA Tech Show Board has not said what they will do yet either, but it is set for March 10th, 2021, likely in Chicago if it's in person, and we'll have more information later. But it would be great if you could contact one of us saying that you'd like more information on that, and then we'll add you to our list from previous attendees and send you more info as soon as we have it.
All righty. So we have, at this point in time, over 140 callers. And in the chat box, I would just ask if you would step up and write down the one thing that you will do after this webinar today. And it's kind of like a commitment to yourself and to us that you will do to advance your own career. And now we're going to just go ahead and put that in the chat box. We're going to go ahead now and look at some of the questions. We only have a few minutes. Any questions that we do not answer will be sent on to the panelists, and we will answer those. Just give us some time. As you all know, we are juggling work, new technology, a new life. So just give us some time and we'll get back with you. Okay, first question. I can only take 2 or 3. Do you have any advice regarding this unique field for men to be more than just bystanders, to not contribute to any roadblock for women opportunities?
You know, it's funny. I was just going to interrupt Jeannie and say, I had one last thought, but this is exactly the thought I had. So perfect. I wanted to say that also a theme in the day that several speakers brought up was that you cannot do this alone. You really have to have input and active participation by male colleagues. So some of that can be through public support, like Helen Gulgan-Buchmelz said, you know, praise women publicly. So male colleagues who praise women are likely, sometimes, often, received more favorably than when women praise women. I mean, I think, you know, we say these things and they are generalities, but they prove to be pretty true most of the time. So male colleagues should praise women more publicly, try to include women in more projects, so that, because then the younger generation of female attorneys, they just need to see someone who looks like them doing the harder work, the more advanced level work, being project managers, partners, that kind of thing. And so the more women you have at that. Other speakers spoke about really the importance of diversifying that table. Like Tammy Siemenbad said, the more diversity you have at the head table, the more new attorneys will stay and will be retained throughout the process and will not leave the practice of law to go start their own thing that will compete with yours. So it was a theme that we really need men to assist with this. And I think those are a couple ways of doing it: diversifying, and then praising women more publicly and including them in more projects actively.
Okay, we still have 136 people on the line. We'd love to see more people make that commitment of how you want to make something do something more different, thinking outside the box, strategizing, organizing, taking something off your plate, under promising, over delivering. There's so many great ideas that were given out in today's webinar. So just put them in the question and answer box. We have many other questions that we will not get to today. Can I have the rest of the slides? Because we do have to close up. We're kind of at the end. Remember, we have a networking event on September 16th of how to be a better networker. December 6th, we're still writing on some materials. Go ahead and email us and we will consider those thoughts. And if you have people that you know who would be great speakers for this type of webinar, do let us know. Next slide. So again, you can just Google ABA Women Rainmakers and you'll be able to find our active page and see what we're doing as projects. We do have a book that was out several years ago of marketing success. How did she do that? I think it's its second run, and you can publish that at the shopaba.org. And we really do wish all of you successful rainmaking. It's a hard time right now for everyone. We know that attorneys are, just have such incredible stress. That's probably why we have so much depression and anxiety and unfortunately drug use, alcohol use. But there are answers out there. I'm hoping that some of the answers today that we gave to you will help you in your own practice. Thank you for staying till the very end. We will get back to you with answers. You guys all be safe. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.